Welcome to the Yellow Submarine University. I'm Dr. Bob Hieronimus.
And I'm Dr. Laura Cortner.
It serves you right.
I just gave myself a foot.
No, but you do have a foot.
Well, I have an honorary Yellow Submarine University degree, I guess we could call that, because I co-wrote these two books, and that's what we're here to tell you about today. Some interesting updates that we've learned since Volume 2 came out last year.
Yeah.
It's All in the Mind, which was Volume 2 of everything we've learned about the making of this extraordinary film by these extraordinary people. So we have heard from some readers. I want to tell you about this.
Yes.
We have some very astute readers. And there's one gentleman who's a professor by the name of Scott Robinson.
Oh, Scott.
Dr. Scott Robinson, PhD, or FUD.
FUD.
Exactly.
Right.
He's the chair and professor of music and coordinator of the Applied Music Program, San Diego Mesa College. And he emailed us and asked us to investigate the dance hall sequence in Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Now, as we've reported, and most people know, that scene was rotoscoped, where they traced over actual dance hall films from the 30s and 40s. Busby Berkeley, I remember them talking about. Ruby Keeler, I remember talking about. And I heard them say Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers. So he wanted to know which exact films were used. And he thought it would be great to make a side-by-side comparison to show the real film on one side and the dance hall, the Lucy in the Sky sequence on the other. So all I knew was I'm pretty sure that those three characters that I'd heard mentioned were some of the film clips. And I did a little Googling, and I found this one link of somebody who'd done 20 seconds, at least, of the Fred Astaire with Ginger Rogers. They're dancing in that classic sequence, dancing cheek to cheek, where she's got that big feather thing that's flowing around in her face. She talks about that in interviews. How, Ginger Rogers had to do everything Fred Astaire had to do, only backwards and in high heels with feathers in her face all the time. So I want to take a look at that together, if you would like to look at that.
Yeah, I'd love to look at that.
That shows them side by side. That's from the movie Top Hat, 1935 movie.
1935.
And we did some Googling after that. We'll talk about after we take a look at this video. So let me just... So... This is, I think that was Eddie Cantor at the beginning of that. But this is somebody else he's dancing with until he gets in the back. Look at all those feathers. Okay, right there. I love that. And so, I can just think of Diana Ford, who we interviewed for our book, as one of the trace and paint artists who worked on that scene.
Yeah.
And the way that they made Ginger Rogers' dress, it was all flowy, but they have the paint just spraying across the screen. It must have looked terrible. As she said, when they were doing it in person, each one of those frames doesn't look too good.
Yeah.
But when you meld them together one after another, it makes the paint actually dance across the screen. Fantastic idea. Come up by George Dunning and Billy Sewell. Billy
Sewell, yeah, the guy that was in love with so many
Fred Astaire.
So many women that...
Oh, that too. He did have a bit of a reputation. But it was his film, Half in Love with Fred Astaire, that was the basis for that sequence, of course. That again, we were talking about this on a previous episode, of how giving people were. So Billy Sewell was working on a film all by himself where he was rotoscoping Fred Astaire movies. And when Yellow Submarine came along, everybody in the animation world was pulled into that movie in one way or another, especially if they were in London at the time. And he knew the folks at TVC London where they were producing the film. So they said, I guess George Dunning convinced him somehow, let's turn this into the Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds sequence. And as Bob Balser tells it, George Dunning spent the rest of the entire movie working on those 3 minutes. He worked the entire time.
Yeah,
he couldn't let it go. They must have produced 30 minutes worth of footage that they couldn't use. I would love to see that today. I wonder what happened to it.
I wonder what happened to that period.
They must have over-rotoscoped stuff. So George Dunning, the director of the film, got sick and had to leave for a while. So Bob Balser took over that song and ended up being the one who had to edit it, which is a lot of where the skill comes along. Anybody who's worked in production knows that it's not all the performing, it's the editing that makes the end product. So that's thanks to Bob Balser for making it all make sense.
Well, he, of course, we were very close to Bob Balser, and he is the one that really gave us the secrets when he wasn't supposed to, as to what really was going on. And I guess we're not even allowed to let other people know what those secrets were. But there's a lot of stuff that was secreted.
Yeah, well, the British are very polite. Let's put it that way. I think we as Americans are more about exposing what actually happened, even if it was behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Disarray or disgruntlement, people not getting along. They tried to keep that quiet for a while, but they pointed it out to us, and it eventually came out in our first book. But what I think is a wonderful thing is this fellow, Dr. Robinson, he's promised to send us his research findings. He's going back in as the semester. We wrote to each other over the summer, so he was going to get his research students and some of his colleagues in the dance departments to start looking for the other films that might match up for those sequences.
I hope he gets
and
them.
Create a video so that you can see them both side by side, because I just love that. It's just I did do a little searching for Ruby Keeler. I looked through various YouTube sequences of Ruby Keeler, because I'm pretty sure that's her dancing around at the end of that sequence.
It certainly looks like her.
Yeah. But I couldn't find one that matched the outfit. And again, a lot of feathers that I was looking for. So thank you, Scott Robinson, for sending that along. And anybody else who buys a copy of our books and finds something that we have missed, let us know at our website is yellowsubmarinebook.com.
Hey, you remembered.
I almost forgot. Yellowsubmarinebook.com. We have 2 books for sale, plus a lot of bonus prizes, which are for free.
Hey, so
I've
added all the pages together. It's got about 700 pages,
yeah,
800
something
pages.
like that. It's over 700 pages, and lots of illustrations. So it's not just data.
Well, it's a good thing that you came along.
Look at that.
It's a very good thing that you came along. So
my favorite.
I could work out. Oh, yes, I could work on certain things, and she could work on the other things.
Okay.
Otherwise, it becomes extremely stressful.
It's all together now,
all
as
together
I like
now.
to say. So thank you for joining us on another brief episode of the Yellow Submarine University.